and welcome to Tuesday Tips. Laurie can't be here today, so I'm filling in. I'm Jeanette. Today we're talking about a quilt block on Broomhilda. So this is what's called in the book, it's the boot button. So it's the one with the buttons on it. It's a pieced picture block because there's two sections to it. So today this is part one, and we're gonna be talking about the top part of the block, and it has the Chanel sock on it. So we're gonna go step by step through part of it, and then next week Laurie will take over and show you the rest of it to sewing the block together. So to start with, there's a little bit of preparation to the fabric that you do. You take your fabric that you've cut on your block, and you wanna find the center, and we're marking the very bottom of the center of this block. So then you wanna hoop your stabilizer, which is tearaway stabilizer, and you're going to stitch, it's just a placement line. And this is a little different. It has a center mark, but the center is over here. So we're actually lining up the center, our center mark, with that little center mark on the block. So you just put the center mark so they're lined up and across the fabric. So you can take this down if you want at this point, or just hold it in there really carefully, because you can see over here on this that the sock is all the way on this side of the block. So that's why the center mark over here is so far over here. Is the sock needs to be over here for it to be able to line up with the boot below it. So after you've laid this down, the very next step that it stitches is a basting line. And I'll show you, I have some partly done. So you can see in orange. So that just holds your fabric to the stabilizer so that it stays into place. Let me show you, this is actually what I wanted to show you next. So in this line, the black line is that basting box. The next step that you're going to do is just a regular applique piece for the base of the sock. So it's gonna do a placement line, you're gonna place the fabric, it's gonna tack it down, and you're gonna trim around it, and then it's gonna do a decorative top stitch around it in the orange. The next thing that you're gonna do is lay your Chanel fabric on top, and it's 3 layers, and you place all 3 layers right side up. And then it's gonna do some stitching, and the stitching is up here. And we didn't complete it so you could see all of it, but it will do several sections of socks. It has some tight stitches and some really loose basting stitches. So what you will do next is trim the top 3 layers. You're not going to be trimming the bottom layer at all. You're gonna be trimming around the basting stitches. What's really important to remember is to not trim those basting stitches. You want the basting stitches to stay in. It's like your outline for cutting your fabric. So after you've cut around all of the sections of the orange, then the next thing you're going to do is place your black fabric on here. And this one shows you, we've placed the black fabric and done the stitching, and you can see it does some of the same stitching here. And you can see up here, we've trimmed the orange sections. This is what it looks like after you've trimmed those orange sections up here. So you can see there's layers of fabric here. It has the basting stitches you can still see. We'll remove those later. And then you place the 1, 2, 3 layers of black, and it will be full. It will cover the whole thing. And then it will stitch the sections here. And then you can see we've trimmed around the black, and we'll trim around this black too. And then you remove the basting stitches, and then between your 2 layers, your 2 lines that are super tight stitched, you're gonna cut right down the middle of those top 3 layers. So here we've cut those 3 layers. You can see 1, 2, 3 layers in here. And then you just tuft that with like a nail file or a Chanel brush, and you can see it just adds all of that texture to it. So this is ready to cut here, and I can cut here and remove those basting stitches and Chanel the whole thing. So it will look Chanel like that. That's how we get the striped Chanel blocks on there. One thing to remember too, the line, the basting line that holds that fabric down, that is not your cut line. Next week, Laurie will show you how we'll help you trim the block so that they'll line up and match. One thing to remember too is if a line is at the very beginning, it's usually a basting line. And if the line is at the end of the stitch, that's usually to help you cut and trim your block to the right size to be able to make it work for the quilt. So if you guys have any questions, ask away in the comments, and we'll come answer them and help any other way we can. So, bye.